Interaction design is a study of how users interact with the interface. Where UX is about the experience a user has with the web product, interaction design is about the elements the user interacts with to achieve a goal. So 5 elements that affect interaction with an interface. So machines, so what devices are the users operating to access the interface? Is it a desktop, is it a mobile, is it a tablet, etc. The persona you're considering may have a preference on mobile desktop. They may also choose to use a mouse over touch, etc. Obviously, if you're on a desktop. Where they are affects how they interact with your machine, obviously in transit, if they're at work. The text, so the actual words you use for labels, navigation buttons, form fields should be descriptive, brief, and relevant. The persona you're designing the interface for should be taken into consideration. I would imagine if you are of a younger generation, AKA not me, more so phone, 100% more phone. I have a client right now that I'm working with. They like don't even care to see wireframes and desktop comps. Like they don't even want it. They're like 88%, I think it is, on mobile, because it's all young people using it. So it's like, okay, well, there goes the desktop. But then for me, I'm like, oh, I really like to see the desktop first. So anyways, you got to target to your audience, right? It's easy to slow an interaction designed by confusing the user with unfamiliar labels or daunting them with too much information. Simplicity is key. So what graphics does the user need to see to help comprehend what's required of them? Are icons required / being used to help communicate content? That could be like in desktop with the chunk of copy. That could be in your apps like in Instagram and such, you know, your icons at the bottom. And then typography can obviously play a huge role with the interactive elements being easily recognizable and obviously operable. Sorry, my kid's like screaming here. Time. How long are the animations? How long are videos? How long does it take for the interface to react and transition? Anything too slow, no one's got time for that. Depending on the persona, you could either frustrate the user or give them a sense of low and feel, depending on length of time interactions are required. Can you hear that? I'm so sorry. One moment. Just requires a big yell and then we're quiet. Okay, behaviors. The actual element feedback is what's considered with behavior. So drop-down menus, hover effects, micro interactions, etc. So how the interface communicates, or how the interface communicate where you are in the process. So thinking along the lines of like those little dots, if we have that slider image, so it shows if you're on the first one, the second one, third one. So you're always communicating those things to your users, so they're aware of what where they are in the process, especially like those onboarding screens we did as well. What's the tone and manner of the feedback of the interactive elements? So important interactive design questions. So usability.gov outlines questions that interaction designers will ask when designing for specific personas. What can the user do with their mouse, finger, or stylus directly interact with the interface? So this helps us define the possible user interactions with the actual product. And then the appearance. So what about the appearance gives the user a clue about how it may function. So when you push a button or when you hover over something, it changes color, that sort of thing. This helps us give users clues about what behaviors are possible. It's like a circus in my house today. My dog's like all over me. Good Lord, my kid's nuts. Do error messages provide a way for the user to correct the problem or explain why the error has occurred? And this lets us anticipate and mitigate errors. What feedback does a user get once an action is performed? So this allows us to ensure that the system provides feedback in a reasonable time after each user actions. How are the interface elements reasonable size to interact with? So questions like this help us think strategically about each element used in the actual product. are familiar or standard. Standard elements and formats are used to simplify and enhance the learnability of a product. So some FHIR interactive elements. So while users can engage with interfaces in many ways, there's a few core interactive elements that a designer may include. So essentially it's like across the board. Button animation. So obviously animations draw attention to content and help with engagement. Simple animation like a button glowing on a hover or a drop-down menu easily into position helps with the look and feel as well as enhances the design. Videos provide immersive experiences delivered efficiently with words and motions. A user remembers 90% of the message in a video as opposed to just plain old text. Sometimes a video can do a better job explaining than static words and graphics. So maybe an animated infographic, things like that, people resonate much more with. Then infographics can explain data and information in a graphical, efficient way. Things like branding, tone, and manner can include in the visuals. Adding animation to an infographic is also incredibly powerful. Something I'm working with right now with a client. Carousels, as mentioned earlier, content sliders are an efficient way to engage users on the site. They display current and important information in an interactive way that's familiar to most users. They, maybe it's a company that, they're, hey, look who we're working with. And obviously you might want to work with them. Look at the sale we have going on, and you can obviously have multiple things there. Nav bars, so navs are the elements most accessed on web products. Animated navigation is engaging and actually fun to use if created appropriately. Tab bars are standard navigation with mobile based on web products. Adding animation encourages interaction and helps with comprehension. So in interaction, a designer will utilize research to define the type of user that will engage with the interface. They'll create a design strategy that takes into account the user needs and design appropriate interactive elements for that user. Any questions